Assalamu alaikum, sisters and brothers. Sulaiman Rahim here, Messenger of the Covenant, breaker of the seven seals. Let's bring in the audio audience. This is the Black Alert hour of the Fire Zone. Fire Zone, brothers and sisters, for audio audience. One second here. Brothers and sisters, Spring Thaw, that's our subject. Brothers and sisters, as I explained in the spring presentation, previous one, we're in spring now. The Earth axis changes, takes approximately 24 to 25,000 years to make complete rotation, and that's roughly four seasons, 6,000 years apiece. That's why Yaakov's creation, they had only one season, 6,000 years. But there's 4 seasons. There's a summer, there's a spring, summer, fall, and winter. They had the winter season, the worst winter ever since the beginning of creation to now. The worst one. Well, the worst parts of us. Because the winter people, they're the personification of winter. They're the very worst of us. I explained that, so I'm not going to go into detail about it. I explained it in the spring presentation. So I'm going to cover a few things I may have not covered before. Because spring thaw, what's spring thaw? That's the period of time when spring comes in, but you still have remnants of the winter. If you had a real bad winter, you have a lot of ice and stuff build up, right? It's like almost icebergs and things, ice castles, you see. And it was like a real bad winter, the ice gets real hard, and it's hard to melt, but it melts. So it might take a week, 2 weeks, maybe. Sometimes it may take a month for it all to melt, but it melts. See? Because it cannot withstand the spring. It's winter. Winter's over. But you got the remnants. See? As I was saying, the Europeans, they represent the personification of winter. And I'm going to go over that briefly. When I would say that, that means that the weather is not winter, because they become personification of, they become winter. So some become hail, some become snow, some become blizzards, and the actual weather is okay, because they're the personification of it. And so when you run into one of them, you might get a blizzard, you might get blizzard, hailed, frozen, iced, because they're the personification of the winter. Hope you understand that concept. See? So we do that. That's the way we do things. They're the personification of the winter. They're the winter people. But they're from us. They came out of us. See? But this was the time of energy deprivation, where the energy levels were very low, because all the energy that used to be here is out there now. And so we suffered energy deprivation, right? Which means we had energy deficit. See? So Dr. Yaqub, he brought a version out of us that required less energy. They're our people, right? See? But they're the worst of us. See, they're stripped down version. It's like a Lamborghini and a Volkswagen Beetle, they're still cars. but one is a stripped down version requiring less maintenance and can run off a cheap gas. It doesn't require as much to maintain and operate it. See, and that's what Dr. Yaku did, because we didn't have enough energy to maintain a civilization of Lamborghini, so to speak. See, but they would be able to do that with Volkswagen Beetles, if you understand. So therefore, that's why it says Adam he'll be a new ruler in the earth. He'll be, for 6,000 years, he'd rule. Because during the winter season, he would rule. See, we wouldn't be able to rule during that because we was, the energy levels were low, but they didn't require as much. They're the winter people. For 6,000 years, right? They would rule because that's the season. You have 4 seasons, 6,000 years of summer, 6,000 years of spring, 6,000 years of summer, 6,000 years of fall, 6,000 years of winter. And we always had those seasons. But this is the worst winter ever. We'll never have another winter like this again, ever. We'll have all those other seasons, and we'll have winter, but we'll never have a winter like this again. This is the worst ever that produced the worst of us, and the worst of us was controlling. See, that's why they're often referred to as the children of Israel. See, because they came out of us, but then they turned on us. So I don't really want to go into all that history about them, because like I said, I did that in the previous one, so if you're interested, go back and look at the spring presentation, the one just previous to this one. See, because I go into a lot of details. See, but I don't want you to, get lost here. So maybe I'll just get some little background, right? As I said, initially, as the universe expands, how does it expand? By the energy expanding out. So it used to be here, and now it's out there. So we enter a period of energy deprivation as the universe reaches its maximum expansion. Then it starts contracting. It contracts in waves. Every 50 years, a positive wave. The first positive wave came back in the 1860s, right? And which elevated us, right? We broke our physical chains, but it caused them to go into war. See? Because it has 2 reactions, has a double reaction. And then the next one is in the 1910s, right? And that was we broke our mental chains, right? We started thinking about Africa. We had people like Noble Drew Ali, Marcus Garvey, Elijah, so forth and so on. And 50 years later, right, we had social revolution, right, where we broke our social restraints. See? And now we're 50 years later from that, and we're about to break all restraints. See? But this cycle, this winter season, because it said they would rule for a season. This season ended, right, effectively in 1948. So now we're in spring. But this is a period of the spring thaw, because we have a lot of winter remnants around, a lot of icebergs and stuff still, they're still there. See? So we're in a winter thaw period. But we're also in a point of energy, self-imposed energy deprivation, because we had enough energy to maintain ourselves in 1948, right? But this is a period, it's this period of our greatest deception, because the demons, that's Master's children, right? That means the result of Master raping black women, that's his seed, that's the story of wheat and the chaff, and the wolves in sheep clothing, that's their seed. They have the same nature as their fathers, because you start out as a sperm. See? And their job, right, is to get us, deceive us, to misuse our energy. See? Because we're in a period of self-imposed energy deprivation. Our official energy deprivation ended in 1948. And that was the end of the winter. That was the beginning of spring. So we had enough energy to maintain ourselves. But the demon's job, Farrakhan being a cheap demon, is to take and get us to misuse that energy, so we still suffer as though we were still back in winter, which would handicap us and make us not to survive the winter thaw. The spring thaw. See? So for instance, when the spring thaw comes in, if you got, let's say you got mounds of ice. Okay, it's springtime, but if you get close to that mountain of ice, you're gonna get cold. You're gonna be cold because it's ice. If you fall into a lake that's still partially frozen, right? You get hyper or what they call it, hyper. I forget the word they use, right? See, so you can still suffer the effects of winter, right? If you mess still around things that's still the remnant of this winter. So you avoid that. And that's what we're trying to get you to avoid, because they're trying to get you to misuse your energy, so now you still suffer energy deprivation when, right? Self-imposed. Because instead of using energy for self and nation, using energy for frivolous things, helping Massa, going helping Massa with these wars and all this stuff he's doing, out there eating all kinds of garbage, NFL, NBA, all kinds of stuff. That they got distractions, right? They keep you from self-development and nation development. That's what we're trying to do. So that means you will not survive the spring thaw. You go down with the ice. See? So when you say you have mountains of ice and fortresses, well, that represents like America. America is a remnant of the ice, because during this winter, ice ruled, snow ruled, hail ruled, blizzard ruled. You couldn't do anything about it because of winter. It was empowered by the winter. When spring comes, it has no power anymore. It may be remnants, but it hasn't any power anymore. You see? But it might try to hold on to power. It might try to hold on to power, try to hold on to it's trying to prevent the spring from coming in, because spring is it's destruction. So it's trying the winter people going to try to prevent the spring from coming in, because it's their destruction. That's why I said the spring is new life. Spring is new life, right? See, growth, warmth, sunshine. See, and that's totally against the winter. And remember, the winter people, they're a personification of the winter, but they're intelligent. So they can see the spring coming in, and the effects going to have on them. So they're going to try to hold the spring. They're going to try to prevent the spring from coming in, and try to hold on to the winter. And that's what you're seeing right now. See, because right now you see America is losing its authority all over the planet. It's losing this world that they put together, this false, this illusion they put together, right? That now it's coming apart. They took countries and split them up. They took Taiwan and China split. Now they're trying to come. They're going to come back together, right? Broke up Africa, coming back together. They broke up India, right? All these they broke. All this was winter's doing. See, but now it's unraveling. And so, but they're trying to hold on to the winter because they know they cannot survive during the spring. So they're doing everything to stop the spring from coming in. And we are now, as they are the personification of winter, we're the personification of spring. See, we can survive. We can survive all seasons. See, because if nobody looking at it, we survive the winter, because the devils, they're us. They're aspect of us. They're the worst of us, right? You see what I'm saying? They're the worst of us. So there's no winter that would take out all human life. There's no season, but but the point is that only the worst of us could survive, could rule during the winter, and they were the worst of us because they came out of us. You see, because it was so bad, only the worst of us could rule. Only the very worst of us, and they're the worst of us. But they could not survive. They're winter people. They could not survive into the spring. So right now we're in spring thaw. And during spring thaw, right, the icicles and all that stuff, the remnants that's from the winter, right, it starts melting. And some of it's some of the ice, if the winter was cold enough, you got some ice that's like also icebergs It might take instead of maybe a week, maybe 2 or 3 weeks, maybe almost a month before it melts. But it's melting. It's melting. See, because the ice is so hard, or if the lake was frozen so hard, it takes longer for it to thaw out. The harder it was frozen, the longer it takes to thaw out. That's a spring thaw, but it's gone. It has no power. See, it's diminishing, but it has no power because it's not in power. It has no cold or nothing. There's no cold weather, any wind, anything to empower it. So now it's just there, right? But it has no power. It still has the instincts of the winter, but it has no power. See, only power it has is the power you give it. Because if you jump in that lake, you have to jump in that lake, that cold, and then you freeze, right? I can't, it's hyper, I can't think of the name of it, but, or if you get around there and jump in, jump on one of those icebergs, out, or whatever, right? Then you get cold or whatever. You get snow, you get a snow, what they call it, a frostbitten. So in other words, that's your choice. But if you just stay away from that, then it's just going to melt. It has no power other than the power you give it. And right now, the devils have no power over you, original people, unless the only power they have over you is the power you give them. See, they say, hey, come here, man. Come over here, iceberg, come over here. So you get a blitz, right? But you have to come over there to get it. Because remember, I hope you understand that concept. They're personification of winter. So in other words, you don't see any snow, you don't see any winter climate, you just see winter people because they become a personification of it. So the weather, the atmosphere may be warm, but they represent the sleet, the snow, the hail, and when you deal with them, that's what you get. If you deal with them, right, you get embraced with a blitz storm, or you get embraced with a ice storm, right, or you get embraced with a snowstorm. If you embrace it, you be around them, that's what you're going to get from them. So if you're intelligent enough, you avoid them. See, as much as you can. But it's hard for us to avoid them because they're all around us. See? So we run into them, we're gonna get some impact from the winter from these people, but now their time is over. Now we're in the spring thaw. And if you taken down during the spring thaw, it's because of you. See, because now it's your time. The spring is empowering you. And that's why you see in the angel, those understand angel key, you see Suleiman represented as the sun. Because the sun has two impacts, right? It melts the summer. It melts it melts the snow, right? But it invigorates and energizes the spring. So it destroys the winter and energizes and the spring. So in other words, to destroy the winter people and energizes, right, the spring people. And that's what's happening. That's Suleiman's job, to bring down this civilization, this winter civilization, right, and to bring in the spring civilization, bring a new nation, bring a new world. See, bring in the spring. But now we got to go to this period of spring thaw. And we got to get our people through the spring thaw, because a lot of them won't make it through the spring thaw. See, because that's self-imposed energy deprivation, because they walking on icy lakes and drowning, right? See, and out there slipping on ice. See, mess around, ice, slip and fall, break the neck, right? Get snow, frostbite and everything, because they, you understand what I'm saying? Because that's the spring, the spring thaw. That's what it's called, spring thaw, because you're thawing out the ice from the winter. And the worse the winter is, the longer the spring thaw takes. The longer that period is. And that's what's going on right now. See, European countries, they have no power anymore. There's nothing, they're not energized. See, the energy that's coming in is destructive. See, they're getting energy from the sun, but this energy from the sun, right, melts them. But for the spring people, energy from the sun invigorates, energizes them. That's the way it works. And that analogy is a perfect analogy, brothers and sisters. Like I said, it's a approximately 24 to 25,000 year cycle for the Earth to have a complete turn on its axis. And that caused 4 periods. Each 6,000 years. That's why Yaqub had 6,000 years, because he was ruled during the winter. The worst winter we ever had, because it comes at a time when the universe has full contraction. It's the worst winter we ever had, the worst we'll ever have, right? And in the cycle, a universal cycle, going from expansion to contraction to expansion, like a heartbeat. The universe it's like a heart. It just constantly beats forever. It has always been that way. It always will be that way, right? See? So it contracts and expands. It contracts and expands. Contracts and expands. But when it expands, right, and when it gets near the full extension, that means that 6,000 year period is the worst. Because we suffer energy deprivation, right? And then we had to produce a people that could survive, that could rule during that winter period. You see? And they would be cold people. We refer to them as devils. They had to be a stripped down version. All their accessories and everything had to be taken out, so they wouldn't require as much energy. Right? So they're stripped down version. You know, that's why he called it a circumcision. The color tone is gone, right? The compassion is gone, right? Conscious, no conscious, no sense of consequence. They're stripped down version. That's why it says they had the form, right, of godliness, right, but rejected the power thereof. Now, I know you don't understand what that means, but they had a form of us, right, but not the nature. See? And, well, I don't want to go into too much detail of the math of this, right? See? But we had 2 natures within us. See? We didn't have one nature, 2 natures within us, but one dominated the other. It's basically spatial analytical. That's why I say I had 2 different, like Elijah Muhammad explained, we had 2 seeds, right? The brown seed and the black seed. See? But the black seed dominated, and then we bought, it's like we had, no, I'm just stop, I'm getting too far into this. But it brought that brown seed forward and personified it. I mean, not gave personification, right? And that's what you see there. They're the weakest of us. That's why I use the word wicked. See? But they could rule. I would say, Quran says we made Adam a new ruler. He would rule. He ruled for 6,000 years during the winter season. But he could only rule during the winter season because he's a winter people. They're personification of winter. Blizzard people, ice people, right? Hail people, snow people. See? And when spring comes, they cannot survive it. See? But they built a great fortress, an icy fortress. See? In anticipation, they built an ice fortress as strong as they could possibly make it, as hard as the ice could possibly make it. Because remember, they're not just personification, but they're intelligent. So they built an ice fortress. See? In preparation, what you call military power and stuff like that. You know, in preparation. But nothing they do with nothing. I don't care how hard they make the ice, whatever. It will not withstand the spring. It may last longer. It may cause the spring thaw to last longer. But at some point in time, right, it's going to be gone. And even so, it may last longer, but you see it diminishing right before your eyes. Every day you come out and look at the snow, it's a little less than what it's for. You see water flowing from it. So you see it's transforming from ice into water. That's the spring thaw, brothers and sisters. That's where we are right now. That's it. Come out, herd my people. Get the hell out. You don't have to go down with them. You had to go down in a blitz, winter blitz. Right? You don't have to go down in a winter hailstorm. You had to go down any of that. See, because it has no more power. It's just the remnants of this. Of this. That's all you see right now is the remnants of the winter. That's what you see in these people. They have no power anymore, but they still have the instincts of power, and they want to hold on to the winter. And they do everything they can to keep this spring from coming in. That's a time of unprecedented trouble because you got a war between the summer and the winter. I mean, the spring and the winter. You got a war between the two because the winter is trying to hold on to the winter. It's trying to prevent the spring from coming in. Because they know if the spring comes in, it's dead. It's destroyed. That's us. They're trying to keep us from, because we have both of us together. We got the winter people here, and we got the spring people all here together. And now it's our time. And so now we have been invigorated. We're coming to life. See? Now our people, those that are not deceived by energy, self-imposed energy deprivation, right? They're rising up. See? And pretty soon our nations is coming together. Because energy, we can receive energy in waves approximately every 50 years. Receive energy in waves approximately every 50 years. That's what Christ says. It's momentous in the heavens and the earth, but it comes to you but of a sudden. So it comes in forms of waves every 50 years. The first one was 1860s, right? When we broke our physical chains. I mean, you can track this. And music is expression of the nature of a people, right? And the point is, our music dominates the planet. That shows that we have the most dominant nature, because our music is, no other music dominates this planet. No music ever have dominated I mean, they got Beethoven and was other well, you know, and you didn't they didn't even make you move your finger. See, but our music dominates the planet. You see, because the first documented acknowledgement of our music was the blues. When did that blues come in? 1860s. Why? Because they didn't need us anymore, so they freed us. Remember that. They freed you because they no longer need you. They was moving in from the agricultural era to the industrial era. So they start having machines. They need you. There was other reasons, but bottom line, they no longer need you. They didn't give you anything, and they prevented you from going and working in industrial type of jobs because they had guilds, apprenticeships, unions, and so forth to keep you from even working in those areas. So they only freed you because they no longer need you. The lie they tell you, that was not true. So you had the blues because you didn't know what to do. You so long they threw you in a ditch and you had no idea what to do. So blues. Then 50 years later, in the 1910s, right, jazz. Because you start feeling jazzy because now people start telling you about you didn't know, history and stuff you didn't know. You start thinking Afrocentric. See, when the demons, they were thinking Eurocentric. Because we always had that dichotomy, just like back in Africa, like when we broke our physical chains, right? You had the demons and you had the original people, the chaff and the wheat. See, the demons was the house Negroes. That's their children. There's a black-faced Caucasians. And they think like daddy, and they love daddy, and they were all down with daddy, and they worked in the house. They would never let you in the house because they knew they couldn't trust you. They could trust them because the only problem they had with them is they wanted to be accepted like the rest of master's children. But they wanted to stay with master. They wanted to be sharecroppers. And the original people said, hell with that. I want to get as far away from them as possible. So they ran somewhere into Canada, somewhere to cities. So you had that dichotomy. And then 20 years later, what happened? 50 years later, what happened? In the 20s, you had the same thing, dichotomy again. We start breaking our mental chains, start figuring out our history and what happened to us, right? Start trying to get some education, learn how to read and stuff. And what you had, Eurocentric and Afrocentric. You had those demons that Eurocentric. We need to be more like white people. We need to be more like, more like American, be good citizens. And Afrocentric said, hell with that. We don't want to bow with that. And some actually went back to Africa, Liberians, things like that. You always had a dichotomy because there's two people here. They're both black, but both of them are not the same. One is original and one is fake. One's Caucasian and one's original. You see? But the Caucasian, they got black face. So they look like us, but we were warned about them. Jesus warned about them. He went to war with them. The first thing he went to war with them, right? Because you read Mark. The first thing he did went to war with the demons because he was plagued by demons. And according to AL-INJIL, 50% of black people in America are demons. Yeah, because of relentless, unrestrained rape of black women. And then then you see this dichotomy, and then blues, jazz, start feeling jazzy, and then 50 years later, Motown sound. We broke our social change, so we broke a physical change, mental, then social. And that's what happened, because now we broke our social change, and that was Motown sound, right? And black and proud, and people start wearing frozen things, you see? But then you had the one separation, and those want integration. See that dichotomy again? Because demons, they want to integrate, they want to get close to daddy. And when the door was open, that's what they did. They ran to the suburbs and everything, got close to daddy, started marrying daddy's children. See? Because they wanted to be circumcised. See? Because they felt like they was cursed because they really had the nature of daddy, but they had that foreskin, that black. So they want to marry with them so they can get rich. Their children wouldn't be cursed with that. So they have children that look like daddy. And then Michael Jackson come along and told them they could do it chemically. He was like a prophet for them. And now you see people like Venus and all them, Venus William and all them, right? They're going to get chemicals because that's, you can't blame them. I mean, that's who they are. They really Caucasians with black skin. They want to get rid of that. They want to circumcise themselves and get rid of that poor skin. That's what the Bible really talking about when you get to it. I mean, it's talking about the physical level too, but it's primarily talking about these people being, because doing Adam's rule, right? If you're circumcised, you'd be successful. That means if you was white, you didn't have that black foreskin. That's another story, brothers and sisters. You understand? That's what's going on with that. So they want integration. They want to get closer, closer, closer. And some of them have. I mean, some of you wouldn't know. You got a lot of people around here, right, that they say were mixed race, whatever. But you don't know anymore because they might be 1 or 2 generations, and they look just like now. They look white all over again. They got rid of that black skin, foreskin, and they look just like master all over again. You see, got a lot of them running around like that. That's fine. That's them. We don't want them. So you got that economy. Now, 50 years later, see, we had Motown, we had blues, we didn't know what to do. Jazz started getting jazz, then we had Motown sound, black. Now, 50 years later, we got new sounds coming in because we getting ready to break all chains. See, but you got this dichotomy again. You got those that's getting out of here, that's leaving. See, not wanting to leave. Remember, in the 60s, there was one to go, thinking separation. And they started acting, and a lot of them got along, and with Elijah Muhammad and everything, preparing to leave. And you have those that want to integrate, got close to master. So in this case, we got those, right, that we're going to leave. We're going to leave. And the other one's going to stay here. That's why you read in Mark, right, when he met Legion, Louis Eugene Grounds, the NOI backwards, talking about Farrakhan. He's Legion. He's the chief demon, right? He pleaded Jesus, please don't make me leave the country. He wants to stay here with Massa. See, he said, well, let me go over there with the swine. These swine daddies. That's what we refer to them as swine. And then they got to fighting and off the cliff, because that's what's going to happen. Because they're going to stay here, but they're still not going to accept them. And they're going to get to fighting. That's another story altogether. And they're going to be destroyed. But we're going to leave it. We're leaving. I was talking about Michael stood up, and at that point, he delivered those who's in the Lamb's Book of Life. But them saying, brothers and sisters, a lot of you are going to be lost in the spring thaw because you don't understand it. See? You don't understand what's going on. And you're trying to help them. You got these time anchors, these vipers, right? But they're doing it because they know most of us are Negro butts. We was programmed 500 years ago. I was programmed from 1555 to 1619. It took 64 years to program us and first Negro butts came off the assembly line in 1619. See, fully programmed Negro butts. See, no, you don't think, you just do, you're a Negro butt, you're programmed to do what master tell you to do, that's it. Now think for yourself, not think at all. In fact, but if they caught you thinking, they would, right, they would dismember you, dismantle you. You know what that means, right? It's because you was just supposed to do what master told you to do. The first one came off assembly line in 1619, fully stamped, certified, right? Because you went in Kunta Kinte, you came out Toby. So now my name is Dick Richardson. See, Robbie Masterson. See, James Jefferson. See, stamp with those names. And they weren't names anyway, brothers and sisters. See, they weren't names. They were stamps. They were brands, like you brand cattle and everything, because that name would change. That brand would change depending on the master you were serving at any particular time. Because if you went to serve another master, then your name would be whatever your master was. So he could say he owned you. And so when you walk around those names right now, you're telling the world you're still owned by master. That's what you're telling the world. You don't like it, but that's a fact. That's why you have no respect. You have no respect because of that, and you have no respect because you don't rule your own nation. And you see these Negroes walking around here, hey man, I'm this and that. Hey, the white, they accept you because you got the American authority behind you, but they don't respect you personally. They don't respect you personally. They respect you because you got the American authority behind you. If you come out there, you're a senator or you're a representative or a mayor or something like that, because you got the American authority behind you, but they don't respect you as a person because they know you nothing. You don't control your own family. You don't control your wife. You don't control nothing. You do what the master tells you to do. And first of all, when you show up with master's brand on. You got the big stamp right here. My name is Jamie Richardson. Means right there, I'm owned by master. I'm still master's nigga. See, so you don't like it. I don't care if you like it or not. And if you're a demon, that is your name because you master child. But if you're a Negro, but I don't care if you like it or not. It's the truth. If you walk around those names proudly, then you're a fool. You're still programmed. Elijah Muhammad deprogrammed you, and Farrakhan came and reprogrammed you back again. He deprogrammed thousands, tens of thousands. Some say more than that. And then Farrakhan came and reprogrammed you again. You ain't going nowhere. We're going to stay here. We're going to bring devils in our eye. We're going to help fight. We're going to help if mass get attacked. We're going to fight because America belongs to us. Well, first of all, America doesn't belong to them, so how in the hell they can give it to you? If they gave it to you, right, then what happened? You come out, the so-called Native Americans, they're your brothers, right? They are brothers, man, we love them. Okay, so they give it to you, and then your Native brothers, you love someone, come and say, hey, brother, this is our land, can we have it back? What are you going to tell them, go F themselves? You see, this is just stupid. This is stop the bullshit. No bullshit zone. This ain't our land. It says land, not ours, and we sojourn. You know what sojourn means? Look it up. It means temporary. For 400 years, 15, 16, 19, and 2019. 400 years, exactly like I said. 2019 will be a plague that will kill the firstborn. Read it. Firstborn is the same as elderly and will pass over us. Read it. The WHO World Organization put out, really Google it. The World Health Organization put out a report several weeks back saying that they didn't understand why this virus was not affecting black countries. In fact, Black Africa, Haiti, so they have this right there. It's passing over. But they tell us, oh, we dropping like flies over here, which is a lie. They don't talk about that anymore because it was exposed. So we're in the Spring Thaw, brothers and sisters. See? And we're trying to get you to get the hell out of here. See? Because they're going to go, they go into war, they're going to try to do everything they can to stop this spring from coming in. See, because they want to hold on to the winter, because they know when spring comes in, that's it for them. And they're the personification of winter, we're the personification of spring. So they figure if they can get rid of us, right, the spring, they continue on with their winter. It's not going to happen, but that's what they think, and what else are they going to think? See, if you had a snowman and became intelligent, wouldn't they want to? Wouldn't they want to keep the winter going? Because they know it's going to die in the spring. And they're intelligent. They're personification. I hope you understand that concept. Spring Thaw, brothers and sisters. See, and we try to deprogram you, right, and keep you from being a victim of the Spring Thaw. See, because they can't destroy you. They can only get you to destroy yourself. You got two things going on. You got the energy deprivation, self-imposed, right? And the self-imposed winter. Because if you still deal with them, right? You want to go and still deal with the winter people? See? So they embrace you. They, like I said, some of us still around. America's one of their fortresses, right? And so you guys are winter people. Oh, man. And you see these Negro butts, they food on TV. Oh, we all one big family, and they marrying these winter people. They sleeping with them. They hanging with them. They being deceived. So they're gonna get frozen to death because they're gonna grab and give them a good embrace, and next thing they know they got frostbite or frozen to death. If you deal with the winter people, they embrace you, they're going to freeze you to death. Leave them alone. Get deprogrammed. How you start being, you don't have to come to me to be deprogrammed. Just start asking questions. And stop listening to what these people are telling you. Start asking questions. And don't accept anything unless they can prove it. If they can't prove it, tell them to get the hell out of your face. And then look at all the stuff they've been told you all your life and re-examine it, edit it, and see if it's not proven, then reject it. Then you deprogram yourself. Because once you deprogram, then you'll definitely be over here with the rest of us that's deprogrammed. Because you want to be, because then you won't want to be with the winter people anymore. You don't want to be with, you want to be in, because you know the danger. You know what's going on there. But right now, they got you, your Negro butt. See? And they got you walking into disaster. See? But they're winter people. If you're going to embrace them, right, you're going to get frostbite. Hypothermia, that's what they call it, right? Get hypothermia. See? Because you're still dealing with them, and they're fading. They're melting. But they still have power. Ice is still cold as long as it's ice. See? And America's still ice. Hasn't melted yet. It's melting. Europe is still ice. It's not melted yet, but it's melting. See? In a few more days, they'll be gone. Because Suleiman, he represents the sun, and he's causing them to melt. How he's causing them to melt? Because this truth is the truth is heat, and this truth is causing all this. Because they you might look at them like they just essence of falsehood. So in other words, this truth is causing them to melt. This truth is causing them to melt. See, that's why I said in 1948, that's when the sun rose. That's the time of Christ and Antichrist. They came on. That's why you have anti, just the opposite of Christ. They came at the same time. It says when Suleiman was born, you used to call him Jesus, right? It says just same as name as Joshua. It says that star would rise in the east. That means he would be in the west amongst the beasts in America. They'd be the same age, both be conceived at the same time. So Suleiman would be conceived around 48, around May 48, same time, March or May 48. That's when, or March, in that period of time, same time fall season, that's the start of rose in the east. And that's the official end of winter, the beginning of spring, because that sun rose, and now it's taken, and the truth that's emanating from that sun, because the sunrise gets hotter and hotter and hotter. The truth from that sun is causing them to melt, but it's energizing the spring people, but it's causing the winter people to melt. See, and its angel is very hot. I call it an atom bomb. It's very hot because it's exposing the truth. It's burning them up. The heat is just too much. See? And they just can't withstand it. Because the sun, that makes a difference between this winter and the summer. I mean, the spring, the winter and the spring. That's why it says, the angel tells you he's represented as the sun. He's making a difference. He's separating the two. He also separates the demons out from the, that's not them. Remember, he will separate the demons out from the chaff out from the wheat. The wolves from the sheep. But you got a lot of the wolves running around in sheep clothing. Hope you understand, brothers and sisters. See? And the angel is getting hotter. That message is getting hotter, hotter, hotter. See? Exposing them, hotter, 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 causing them to melt. They cannot withstand it. And they can't take out the sun. They're going to try. They can't take out the sun. But the same message is energizing our people because they've been frozen, their mind's been frozen for 500, nearly over 400 years, right? See? And so now it's throwing it out. See? It's getting them clean water because they've been getting taken dirty water for the last 40 years. See? Frozen. Now it's fresh, clean, flowing water. I'm trying to give you different analogies, brothers and sisters. See? So now our people are being energized, a new nation is about to be born, and the old nation that ruled for the last 6,000 years is melting, is coming to an end. All you see right now is the remnants. Because they built this ice fortress, right? And they stand behind it and they got all this and they look impressive. Because if you go out there in the winter and the spring and you see, sometimes you see mountains of ice, man, but the real bad winter, you see mountains of ice, mountains of snow. And it looks impressive, right? And then you look a week later, it's gone. 2 weeks later, it's gone. It was like Lou Miles. And next thing you know, before you know, it's gone. There's no trace of it at all. No trace of the icicles, nothing. It's just gone. And there'll be no trace of them pretty soon. This is the year. Like I said, no one knows the time of day but God and the Master Muhammad himself, right? But the angel gives you information. And my calculation is that this is the year. We're definitely in spring thaw. We're definitely in spring thaw now. No doubt about that. How long it takes? That's the question. See? But the sun is doing its job. It's causing the ice to melt. And it's invigorating and energizing, right? The spring people. But it's destroying the winter people. See? Consuming them. Hope you understand, brothers and sisters. Spring thaw. Spring thaw. Understand that concept about personification. Get familiar with that concept, understand it. See? So don't be caught up. Don't be caught embracing winter people. If you're a spring person. But if you want to go down with the winter people, then hang out in the winter. Because we're moving on to spring. And you don't want any winter guidance. The scriptures, right? That's why they give you the scripture. They write for 24,000 years ahead of time, and then they give the scriptures out at the time that's appropriate, right? And so therefore, during the winter, Adam was given a scripture. He was given a sealed Bible. The sealed Bible. And that was his guidance. And the Quran was also a winter book. Those are winter books. They will do us no good in the spring. If you take and have a lifestyle of an Eskimo, you can't take that kind of lifestyle down to Africa. It won't work because it just won't work. And you can't take the African lifestyle up into Alaska, North Pole. So those guidance, how you to live. I mean, how you live is fine, but Measure of Black Man. Those are winter books. Those are winter books. See, some of them see, but some of them bleed into the spring thaw. But they're winter books. See. Now the angel is the spring book. Don't be deceived by that, brothers and sisters. They say, oh, these books are universal. No. You have guidance for the spring, you have guidance for summer, you have guidance for the winter. You know, if you live in a climate where you have full 4 seasons, full effect of 4 seasons, right? Then you know that each season has its own characteristics and its own guidance. The only things, only guidance that goes with it. You know that. Just certain different the responsibilities, the adjustments you have to make each season, and you can't take and carry one season over to another. If you're in a place where you have 4 full seasons, full distinct seasons, you have a distinctly spring, a distinctly summer, distinctly fall, and a distinctly winter. So you can't use the knowledge you have in the spring for winter. It will not work. And that's what they're trying to tell you. Oh man, the Quran. No, the Quran was a winter book. It does not have. It will not give you any. It won't give you any workable guidance for the spring. You might bleed a little bit into the spring thaw, but that's it. That's why you don't have books. Look, Abraham, did he have a book? Where's his book now? Because it was for another time period. What about all the books? And those of you to understand that they write history every 24 to 25,000 years, right? And they've been doing for trillions of years, those who had knowledge. Then where's those books there was trillions and trillions of books written before? Where are they? How come they're not here now? Because those books were not written. They was written for a time frame they were in, and then they became irrelevant, and so they no longer exist. And after spring thaw, because the angel is pretty much for the spring thaw. The angel is pretty much for the spring thaw, actually. See, but after spring thaw, it's become increasingly irrelevant. We have to have a new book that gets into the spring, because the angel really doesn't get you into the spring. It gets you in spring thaw, with the war and everything come, the battle between the spring and winter. See, so the angel is primarily for the spring thaw, to get through that period. The period I'm trying to get you through now, brothers and sisters, trying to get you through the spring thaw, because that's the worst time in history, it says. Right? It'll be a war, a time of unprecedented trouble. The battle between the spring and the winter, because winter is trying to hold on. It doesn't want to give up. It's got a lot of power, because we had the worst winter in history. Worst winter in history. And they're trying to hold on to the winter because they know they can't let the spring come in, because that's the end of them. And we're spring people. That means they have to destroy us. See? Because our existence is their destruction. And Suleiman is the one he's the judge's affair. Master Muhammad, the God, he's the executioner. He's also the deliverer. Gets us out of the way of the winter. Because the winter's going berserk. The winter people going berserk, because the closer they get to, right, the hotter it gets, right? The further they get away from winter, the more worse they get, because they see it. They don't want to die. They want to maintain the winter, because that's where their power was. They have no power when the spring comes. They don't want to give up their power. They had a tremendous amount of power during this winter. They had a tremendous amount of power during the winter. And now they want to give up that power. They don't want to give it up. And they're going to do everything they can to prevent it, but they cannot. There's nothing they can do. But they're going to try to do everything they can. And the thing, like I said, there's nothing they can do, but they can destroy a lot of spring people in the process. They can freeze a lot of spring people in the process. They can get a lot of frostbite, and a lot of spring people frostbite in the process, right? See? They can rain hail down a lot of people and beat them down in the process. See? They can stab you to death with icicles during the process. You need to avoid them. But I see now, I look around, and it's so many people that, like I said, still robots. They still programmed, and they running and jumping in the lakes, frozen lakes, jumping, grabbing icicles, jumping, embracing snow blizzards in there. I said, what's wrong with these people? They don't understand what they're doing? They should be getting away from them. Because they trick you on TV, say, oh no, we all one people, we all work together. Spring and summer, they all, spring and winter, we all one. No, you either spring or your summer. You either spring or your winter. You only get that brief spring thaw in the middle, and that's the one they tell you, hey, no, we all together. Because you see the spring and you see the winter, you see traces of spring. You see in the beginning of the spring thaw, you see you see a lot of winter. but the winter's constantly fading, right? See, and you see a little bit of spring. So now you see them mixed together. And that's what's going on right now. They're trying to mix everybody together now. See? Are you going to TV? Everybody, you got racial mixing. Everybody's together, right? You got interracial marriage, and all this kind of stuff. Because you see the two is mixed at the time. That time between the winter and the spring, you got that spring thaw. So you got both, and they're mixed together. See? But the winter is dying. They faded, but they hold on to the spring people for life, for dear life. That's why they grab hold to you. See? They ain't grabbing you because they want you to be successful. They're trying to keep you from coming into existence, freeze you. See? They're trying to prevent the spring that's coming in. And you jump, and you're falling for it. You're falling for it. Oh, let me give you a white girl. And I see so many. I know you see it. You go to the gym, every place else, and all of them got one. I said, don't you understand what you got there? You got to hold on to a blizzard. You're embracing a blizzard. That's not going to be around much longer. But it'll be around long enough to freeze your ass. See, you get frostbite and everything, but you can't survive. Right? The spring thaw. See? So you're a corpse. You're a frozen corpse. Brother, I try to get it, but I said, as we get closer in, I try to make the analogy as simple as possible. And you can see that. All of a sudden, the spring and the winter's all mixed together. Fist bumping, yeah, Brian, everybody wants to, we all together, we all same now. Why? Because they're fading, and they're trying to hold on to you for life. See? Because in the end, when everything else fails, they're going to try to just wipe you out. That's the only choice they got left. Because they wipe you out. If they wipe you out, they wipe out all the spring people. Then in their mind, they can prolong the summer. You see what I'm saying? Prolong the summer for a longer period of time. That's in their mind. They're going to just eradicate you. And that's about to happen. It's abomination of desolation. And they're playing that right now. Master Muhammad, that's the best of plans. He's going to give you a warning in a minute, because he's going to take down false Israel to prove who you really are, and then you're going to really see clearly, right, that they are the winter people, and what I'm telling you right now, you're going to see clearly, but they're going to see clearly too. See? But their span is going to be exposed, because it's going to happen before they finish completing their plan. That's why it says it's going to happen before, before the fig leaves was ripe. Right? Read the sixth seal. That's why he's going to give you alert before, because they're planning on is just wiping you out, because they know. See, they plan that right now, but the urgency is going to take the urgency is going to take a profound path once false Israel was taken out, because then it's going to be clear that you're the spring people, and that we in spring. And that their power is gone. And that the winter people, their power is gone. It's going to be clear. And the only hope they got is to get rid of you. And they're going to try to do it instantly. They're going to make that calculation right away. But they got to get rid of false Israel, because false Israel are pretending that they're the spring people. See, they took our identity. They're pretending they're the spring people. You see? But they're winter people. And so the thing is that the illusion is that, the spring is going to be so bad, it's going to be a cold spring, so we can still survive. You understand? See, if false Israel is because they're really winter people, but they pretend to be spring people. So if they survive, right, and they bring in the spring, then they're going to bring in a spring that the winter people can survive in, because it's going to be a cold winter spring. That's the illusion they believe working on. But when they're taken down, they realize, no, we the spring people, and it's going to be a hot spring that's going to destroy them. So the thing is, they got to destroy us first. Quickly. There's no time to spare. That's why it says flee. When false Israel goes down, since Jerusalem surrounded by armies, who do you think Jerusalem is? That's them. It said when you see Jerusalem surrounded by armies, their destruction, it's right clear in the scriptures, their destruction is near. when you see Jerusalem, who controls Jerusalem? Who is Jerusalem? That's false Israel. It says when you see Jerusalem surrounded by armies, their destruction is near. That means they're the ones going to be destroyed. And it says when you see that, surrounded, when they're under siege, because America and Britain's been kicked out, and now they're left alone under siege, it says flee, because that means they're about to be destroyed. That means this illusion of them being the true seed of Abraham, the personification of the spring is gone. That means it's not going to be no cold spring. It's going to be a hot spring. And so they're going to kill you immediately. That's why they flee. Your next door neighbor, the word's going to go out. These evangelists, because they all think, they all believe in, oh, false Israel can never, because remember, if this false Israel is the true, it's the real deal, they cannot be destroyed. Because the prophecy is that when they return, they will never be destroyed. So if they destroy, that means they will lie. That means we are the true seed of Abraham. And evangelicals, when they see that, they're going to know exactly what that means. And then put the word out. All the Christians and everything, get rid of them. Because now they're going to be at war in the middle. They're going to be war. First, the war is going to start in the Middle East. And it's going to spread to Europe. This ain't the thing going to Russia and Ukraine. That's not Armageddon. The war Armageddon is going to start in the Middle East and it's going to spread to. And at that time, when they take down false Israel, they're going to be at war. They're going to be at war in the middle in Russia. I mean, they're going to be at war in Europe. That's going to be that's Armageddon. America's going to be getting destroyed over there. Because remember, that power is gone. And now they're fighting with each other. And that's not helpful, right? Because they start fighting each other, they melt faster, right? And then there are also troubles over here, see? And they're going to realize that the reason why they have all this trouble, because spring is coming in. Who's spring? That's us. So what would you do? Get rid of spring. That's our only hope. Get rid of spring immediately. See, because it's melting too fast. Remember, things will be going real fast then, because they're at war all over the world. And then China and India is waiting to pick up the pieces, because now America and Europe, the Europeans are just killing it. They melting fast because they wiping out each other. They wiping out their own tanks, their planes, everything else. They wiping each other. So now the power is going to transfer to China and India. That tells you in chapter 13. It says the dragon, right? It gave its power and authority to the beast. The crowns were shifted from the heads to the horns. That's the beast. And they're the ones, what they're going to do is once Europeans have lost their power because they destroyed each other, then they're going to come in and finish them off. Hope you understand, brothers and sisters. We're in spring thaw right now. You don't have to go down with them. But if you want to go embrace them and all that kind of stuff, that's your business. We're not going to try to stop you. Because if you're that weak, then we don't want you. See, that's called culling. We don't want you too weak to make it into the hereafter. See? Because we only want the best. We want 100% gold. We don't want no impurities. So if you don't understand this, fine. You want to go in and be embraced by blizzards and hail and snowstorms and all that kind of stuff, fine. Go and be embraced with them. See? Don't come hollering at us, man, I got frostbite rather. See? Don't come over here, man, oh man, I got hypothermia. You don't want to hear it. See? Because you didn't have to have any of that. So if you're that stupid, you don't want to be you don't want to be deprogrammed, then you go with them, fine. See? So we'd be glad to get rid of you. Because you're not be the burden to us when we get home. See? And demons, we don't want you anyways. Don't even think about coming this way. And because some of you are going to try to slip into, because you got that, you're not circumcised, right? So you look like us, right? But the point is that if you slip in, how is that going to help you? You're still ice. You just got black skin, so you're still going to melt. So even if you're able to slip through, which Suleiman is not going to let it happen, but even if some of you slip through, you're still going to melt. See? Because you're ice. This truth will burn you up. Hope you understand, brothers and sisters. Okay, so hold on, brothers and sisters here. For our audio audience, right? This is the Black Alert section of the fire zone. Fire zone out. Hmm. Hold on, brothers and sisters, Lou. What's going on here? Okay, let's do it this way. Where is it? What's going on here? Okay, I got a little issue here, brothers and sisters. Bear with me for a minute here. Okay, let's do it this way then. Hmm. Kind of technical difficult here. What is it? See, what's going on here? Hmm. My brothers and sisters, something's going on here. I'm not sure what it is. Okay, well. Okay, brothers and sisters, we're going to leave it right there. We have a technical difficulty here. But anyway, Spring Thaw, brothers and sisters, think about it. Assalamu alaikum.